blessed good evening to one and all. This evening I'm going to do a video of St. Luke's Church, which is at Brighton, St. George. Once again, I'm starting my video from here at the Mount Hill, St. George. This is the Mount Hill here. So up the hill here will take you back to Greens, St. Jude's, Woodland, and St. George, and it will take you back to St. John with Kendall and Henley, and back to the duck pond, the Yari Cause pond, which have ducks there at Henley and at Kendall, St. John, all accessible from this way. So this is the Mount Hill in St. George, and this way to lead you back to Ellerton, where my father is from. Ellerton via the Mount in St. George. So this will lead you back to Ellerton, Buckley, the Mount, and back down to Bridgetown. So what I will do now is go to St. Luke's Church. So this is Brighton. I'm going to Brighton, St. George. So the sign is pointing to St. Luke's Church and Brighton Ridge. From here, you can see the south coast. So this is the beautiful countryside here in Barbados. St. George is my father's birth parish. St. George is the parish in which my father was born and raised. For those of you who don't know who my father is, Satchmore, that sings, or that used to sing years ago with the Sand Pebbles group, he is my father, and he is from St. George, in the same area in Ellerton. Down here, my father is from Ellerton, St. George. So my father is from this area. St. George is the third largest parish in Barbados. St. George is the parish. St. George has no sea, nor coastline in it. St. George nor St. Thomas carries any sea or coastline in there. So looking back towards the Mount Hill. So this is the round table stud farm, which have all these horses at it. And in the background you can see the St. George Valley, and over to the south of the island into Christchurch you can see. St. George was carved out of St. Michael between 1640 and 1641. So St. Michael is the mother parish and St. George was carved out of it. St. George is the parish known for land, and is also the parish known for fertile soil. St. George is the breadbasket parish here in Barbados as well. So for those of you who don't know who my father is, as I said before, Satchmore, that sings, or that used to sing years ago, is my father, and he is from St. George. Someone's private right there. Satchmore is from St. George. He used to write songs years ago for Wendy Allen, Carolyn Leacock, Shara Hackett. He also used to judge in the Calypso tents back in the day. He was a judge. He used to write songs. He even sing songs, or used to sing songs. What I Got to Give Me for Christmas, and I Am a Proud Barbadian, and many others are written by my father, Satchmore, who hails from the parish of St. George in this same community. My father is just from down the road here. So St. George is a beautiful parish with lush greenery. This is the south side of St. George. This is St. George South that I'm in now. St. George is divided into two constituencies, St. George North and St. George South. So this is St. George South that I am in. This is all the round table stud farm here. The stud farm here, it has all the house, the cow, the horses. So this is where to lead you by the Vauxhall, Brighton, and St. Luke's Church. And it can also lead you back to Ellerton as well. So this is all Monkeys Glen here at Brighton, St. George. All stud farm. This here is a cat road that will lead you back to Vauxhall and Melbourne and Brighton. All this stud farm here. So a lot of white people and high society people live over here, in this area here, over here. All the stud farm. So this is Brighton in St. George. This is a peaceful, quiet community. St. George is a rural parish in the countryside. It is one of the most beautiful parishes in Britain. Especially this side of St. George, which is St. George South, has a lot of greenery. St. George North and St. George South have greenery, but this part is more greener. We're back to St. Luke's Church. You can see the houses up in the hills here. Up in the mount hill. Up in the mount. Houses up in the mount. Up in here. A lot of white people and rich people live up in these houses up in here. I'm heading down to St. Luke's Church. So I'm heading to the junction. Upper Brighton, I am. This is Upper Brighton. This is Upper Brighton in St. George. No. Upper Brighton, St. George. all the houses. So straight down, we'll lead you back to Waverly Court in St. George, and back to Ellerton as well, and back to my father's village, Ellerton. So you can also access Ellerton from here, go straight down, and you'll be meeting back at Waverly Court. You can see all into the St. George Valley, the beautiful, scenic St. George Valley, and into the south of the island as well. So this is all Brighton. So where this van is going is back to Ellerton, Waverly Court. And Ellerton housing area where my father is from. And we can see the Brighton plantation and farmers market down here. You can see all of the Body Hall side of St. George out here as well. And this is St. Luke's Anglican Church over here where I'm heading to now. So we can see over the Christ Church and St. Philip from here, which is to the south of the island. So I'm in the south. I'm more to the south side of the island. So even though we're in the center, St. George is in the center, but this part of St. George is bordering the south of the island. I don't want to spot anybody house though, if anybody think I want to take the house or nothing so, because people funny, and these times, this is all farmland. So out here you can hear a pin drop, how quiet here is. So St. Luke's Church is known as the house of prayer in the fields. St. Luke's Church is nestled in the midst of a cane ground. St. Luke's is nestled in the middle of a cane ground. Surrounded by canes and farmland all over. We cut on the bush. This is my first time here for the year. The last time I met this site was the 31st of December 2024, which was last year. Haven't made it back since. Today I decided to pay a visit to this area since I haven't featured it on my channel lately. St. Luke's Church is known for its rather isolated position in that there is no houses around there. There are no houses near or around St. Luke's Church. St. Luke's is a lonely road, just canes and the school next door. So straight ahead, you can see over the St. Philip from here. St. Philip, this is southeast. And then Christchurch, which is south. So St. Philip is southeast and Christchurch is south. Yeah. Straight ahead is the Vauxhall and Melverton and Bailey's Mill in St. George. This is Upper Brighton now that I'm in. And this is the pathway to St. Luke's Church. And it will also lead you back to Lower Brighton. The church is in the midst of a cane field. That for sure I can tell you. So this is all the cane ground. St. Luke's Church dates back to 1830. So that is another one of the historic churches in Barbados. All canes here, cane fields. So over here is St. Philip, which is southeast. And you can see the south coast. You can see all across to the airport. This is the Grant and Adams Airport, our only port of entry by air. You can see it across here. You can see all of the Sam Lars Castle in St. Philip, which is on the southeastern end of the island as well. So I finally reached St. Luke's Church. So this is all the farmland where you can plant your vegetables and so on. And this is the beautiful St. Luke's Church, St. Luke's Anglican Church at Brighton, St. George, and the school next door. The prayer facility for the children. My father went to school there at St. Luke's Primary School, St. Luke's Boys. And the girls' school was up here, where this green building is. Where this green building is here was St. Luke's Girls' School, which is now used as the vocational training board, known as the skills training. That's where the girls' school was, and the boys was here. I have a picture on my WhatsApp, on my Facebook, with the St. Luke's boys playing cricket back in 1973, when on this pasture here. So this is the Anglican Church of St. Luke here at Brighton and St. George. So I will now do a fresh start with St. Luke's Church, starting from this spot here. So thanks for watching, and do have a blessed evening. St. Luke's Church and the school building next door. St. Luke's Church established in the year 1830. Thanks for watching now, and have a blessed evening.